That woman is the key. But she couldn't be the key without the proper man knowing how to choose the proper mate.
That's right.
God, man. The original man. Black man. Loved us so much so that when he found out where we were taken to, he said, we got to go get them. That's why we're called the lost sheep, the lost found nation of Islam, because the circle of God didn't know where we were at. They were kidnapped. They knew we had been taken, but they didn't know where we were at. You will say, well, how did God not know where we are? God knows everything. You don't know everything if you ain't studying. You think this wisdom just pops in God's mind? See, that's spooky. I mean, that's spooky as hell. Where you just think God just knows everything because he just knows. He is everything because he just is. Brothers and sisters, get out of that spookism. The reality of God given to us by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is also introduced to us in the Holy Quran as well as the Bible. But in Surah 2 of the Holy Quran, Allah introduces himself.
Come on, I like that. Come on, listen good now.
It says, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I. And then there's a comma. Now see, I know some of us, you may run into people who will talk to you about the Quran and say, in the Arabic, it don't say it like that. Bruh, look, really? Get the hell up out of my face. No, word is born to Allah. No disrespect to Arabic. Get the hell out of my face. Because when I was in the club, when I was hanging out, when I was doing it, you wasn't coming trying to explain no Arabic to me. Now that God has come and given me the wisdom, now you want to tell me what it says in Arabic. Get the hell out of my face. I don't even want to hear it. Look, I don't know, I know I'm not the only one. That when you came into the understanding of the teachings of Honorable Elijah Muhammad and started trying to profess them, all of a sudden you run into people that you've known all your life that knows Arabic. Wait, hold up, bruh. We've been smoking blunts together and you knew this? And you didn't tell me? Now you want to try to teach me? Nigga, please. What is part to Allah? No, you a devil, man. Excuse my language, but you've been a devil all along. You passing me blunts? You passing me liquor? You helping me scheme on women? And when I talk about Honorable Elijah Muhammad, you know more than I ever knew? Or you a hypocrite? Are you a hypocrite? Or a disbeliever? You believed at one time and then you disbelieve, because there's no way in the world you can be sitting around me in all this ill repute and you had this knowledge. That's just my personal attitude. I remember going off on my parents like a fool. But I was young in Islam. And I was just like, you know, y'all over here, we gathered together, but I don't understand how I'm coming up in this teaching and I can hear, you know, when your family members that are older than you, that watched you when you was a baby, and now you got this woman, you can almost hear them mocking you. Look at him. That's just a phase, girl. Look at him, though. You know, he just going through. And you can feel it and hear it. And it's like, I don't want to be disrespectful. But at the same time, y'all ignorant as hell up here. But then when I thought about, and this is just me personally, when I thought about the history, and that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was born in 1877. He received this teaching in 1932. Met Master Fard Muhammad, got his mission. 1931, met Master Fard Muhammad, got his mission. And then I'm thinking about my parents. I'm thinking about Malcolm. I'm thinking about all that. They was all young coming up at that time. Ain't no way in the world this teaching ain't come across your ears. My attitude was, why y'all didn't tell me? Even if you wasn't following, why you didn't just give me all this crap that I'm going through, all this stuff I'm doing, y'all knew. And y'all could have at least just told me about Malcolm. Y'all could have at least just told me about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Y'all could have, and so I'm sitting there, I'm with a serious attitude. And they looking at me like, this boy done lost his damn mind. And I was sincerely upset, but I was ignorant. I wrote Brother Jabril about it. Just hinted at it. He wrote me back, and Brother Jabril writes in the articles of Farrakhan the Traveler. He wrote me back, and he just spoke. I mean, I had a long letter, and it wasn't all filled with that, but he just touched on it. And he said, brother, so what? I mean, that's basically what he told me. He said, go read such and such a page on my book, Is It Possible that Donald Elijah Muhammad is physically alive? Starting with that part that says, no, this is the one. It's starting with that chapter that says, so what? Then he said, God's wisdom comes in time locks. Partially for protection, I'm paraphrasing, and warning. He said it's like a bank vault that opens up on a timer.
Right.
Certain truths are not going to be unlocked unto you until it's time for you to hear that truth. Because if you got it before you should have got it, it may cost you your life. I was like, damn. I mean, he whipped me, checked me, and just like helped me. Because I really was like, I don't know why I didn't know this before. And I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one that felt that way. But when brother said that, I said, wow, it makes sense. It wasn't time for me to know. When God wanted me to know, then I would know. And then the question becomes for yourself, when it comes to you, how do you respond to the call? That's what made me do a subject on following the minister. What is the proper response to the call of God? Because sometimes that call may come to you and you may put it on pause. You may not answer the call. And then not answering the call, you might miss some real valuable information. Is that right? So I took on that kind of attitude, but when he told me that, and this was years later, because we were well into 2005, 2006, when he gave me that information, I went off in my mother's living room. It was 1992, brothers and sisters. You see how much time went by before my ignorant behind got a response that made me really look and see? Not to say that the minister wasn't giving us up, but I'm just trying to make a point here where that is concerned. But God has been after us for the longest. This was already pre-planned. And so to give birth to a woman that would give birth to a child, that woman was clothed with the wisdom of God, so she knew how to give birth to a God. Then after giving birth to the God and raising him up, by the time he was 3 years old, then he starts going through another level of training. That would be today Muhammad University of Islam. That's right, that's right. So that after 3 more years, by the time he was 6, he saw his future. That at 6 years old, the Savior, God in person, coming from the east unto the west, saw himself in the future pushing the Fords and the DuPonts into a lake of fire. The Fords, the DuPonts, those are the ones that made up the heart of America.
Teach, brother, teach.
Y'all with me?
Yes, sir.
The heart of America is this industrial system. I'm talking about in the beginning stages of America.
Come on, right.
Before the Depression came, the heart of America was dealing with cars and steel. And that was in Detroit. That's why most black people coming up from the South was either going into Detroit or going into Mississippi and going into Louisiana, depending on where they was coming from. But they was looking for a place where they could make money. And Detroit was the Motor City.
Come on.
So the scripture says, Jesus speaking, as Jonah was in the belly of the whale for 3 days and 3 nights, so shall the Son of Man be in the heart of the earth. The heart of the earth is America. America is the superpower over 196 other countries. And got warships planted around 192 of them. And anytime there's a warship on the borders of a country, that's a threat. Like, yo, if you even think about bringing it, we right here. We right here, son. Yeah, no, we here to help. But don't you see all these weapons we got up on here? Look, you ever go down by 42nd Street and look at the what's it called? The big boat, the Intrepid? The big Intrepid, they got the planes and everything on it. The doggone ship is so big it has a runway. So planes can shoot off of it and get to other closer islands. Is that right? It's those kind of warships. Aircraft carriers, is that right? It's those kind of warships that sit around other countries that are owned by America. And just sitting there, you get so comfortable with it. It's like walking around a volcano that never erupted. It's like, oh, you know, the soldiers are there and this, that, and the other. They mean well. But nah, they waiting for the signal. From Washington, D.C., where we were sold at as slaves, they're waiting for the signal to come from there. Oh, yeah, take care of that country. You got a neighboring country over there, you know, you close by, you fly over there and drop a bomb.
Yeah, come on.
Y'all all right?
Yes, sir.
So now when you think about that and think about the fact that America being the heart of the earth doesn't mean that we're talking about a certain center location of the earth when Jesus is saying, as Jonah was in the belly of the whale for 3 days and 3 nights, so shall the Son of Man be in the heart of the earth. He's talking about when God comes, he's coming to that center attraction that's in the earth that attracts and influences all the other countries around the earth. And he's going to spend not 3 days, 3 years. See, with God, Donald Elijah Muhammad teaches us days mean years, and sometimes days means thousands of years. See, the preacher ain't teaching us like that. And I'm not trying to put the preacher down, but the preacher who may have rejected the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he has a price to pay.
That's right.
Black leadership that have rejected the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, there's a price to pay.
That's right.
Black leadership and preachers that have rejected his son, Minister Farrakhan, there's a price to pay. Leadership that have rejected his son, Minister Farrakhan, there's a price to pay. Why? Because those leaders, those clergymen, they're over congregations that follow their lead. So if you're rejecting him, you're teaching your congregation to reject God, man. And you don't think that you're going to have to pay a price for rejecting God? You don't think there's going to be a price to be paid? Leaders, political leaders in the community for rejecting God? When God is giving you programs of salvation and solution, and we're rejecting it? Trying to come up with something new when something was already given? How long are we going to sit as FOI and MGT and accept that bull crap? That we're going to sit in your circles and come hear what you got to talk about regarding housing. We're going to come hear what you got to talk about regarding community, regarding budget, and we don't stand up and say, wait a damn minute. Mr. Farrakhan been among us for the past 40-some odd years. He done gave us this, he done gave us that, he done gave us... Why are y'all not accepting it? Why are y'all ignoring it? Everything you've tried don't work. Why are you not accepting the program of the Nation of Islam? Oh no, brothers and sisters, I gotta say that. Brother sent me a note. I made a mistake. The birth of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, I said 1877. That's Master Fard Muhammad. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad's birth was 1897. Thank you for that, because mistakes shall not exist. But that's what happens when we're racing. To try to stay in the time, and then you start making mistakes. You know, the thought that was on my mind when I looked at the birth of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, I started thinking about my parents and understanding that a generation is 30 years. And my father, he was 49 when I was born. His birth, may Allah be pleased, was 1914. So I went 30 years back and thought about his father. And then went 30 years back and thought about his father, which would be my great-grandfather. Look, that's slavery and sharecropping.
That's right. That's right. Straight up.
You know? And I'm like, damn, I'm coming from those kind of genes.
Yes, sir, brother.
When I look at my mother, born in 1929, you go 30 years back, it's 1900. My grandmother, who died at 85, so that's around, you know, in 1985, she was 85. You know, so I'm thinking, I said, well, what about her father? Go 30 years back to that. Now we talking about Emancipation Proclamation. Straight up hardcore Crackerville. Cracker to the third and fourth power. But I'm saying that to say we come from those genes. We come from that kind of hell. We come from that kind of prayer for salvation, believers. If you don't understand what you was born to do, you were born to answer the cry of your father, the cry of your grandmother, the cry of your great-grandmother. We were not born to frivolous or be frivolous and live a trifling lifestyle. All praises are due to Allah. We always talk about, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says, some of my best followers are in the streets. And I bear witness to that. But it seems like sometimes when people say it, they try to say it to mock or put down the believers that are here. When did he say it? What year was it? And where were we at in that year? We was in the streets. The best followers are right here. The hell we gonna keep talking about? They're in the streets. Come on, man. I'm not denying that there's not more to come. But brothers and sisters, it's you. Only thing standing in your and my way is our own damn feet. And our slowness to check our own deceptive intelligence. The mindset that tells you what to do right, and that other side of your mind that tries to tell you to go for what you desire. Follow your desire. You know you shouldn't do this, but you deserve that. And this is why you shouldn't do it right now, because you see, that's our own devil. We used to have a chokehold that we call the dope fiend yoke. And the dope fiend yoke back in the days is you grab somebody and you got them and you put them to sleep. You got to put your devil in the dope fiend yoke. You got to put your eternal devil, I got to put my eternal devil in a dope fiend yoke, put him to sleep, and then stomp him the hell out like. Word is born to Allah. Oh no. Because the devil's time is up. You and I are not going to be able to put him in the dope fiend yoke if we don't have the antidote on how to check our own devil. And the antidote to check our own devil is self-improvement. Basis for community development. Self-analysis. Self-examination. Self-correction. All based out of the foundation of a filter that's been given by God's command through the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. The prophets of God and the vicissitudes of life they went through. The principles that we learned from the prophets of God and what they went through. Understanding God first. There is no mystery God, brothers and sisters. Son of Man had searched for that mystery God for trillions of years and was unable to find a mystery God. So the Son of Man is a man coming from a man. God is a man. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, this is why he says in Message to the Black Man, dealing on the subject matter, is God a spirit? Brothers and sisters, God ain't no spirit. And I'm going to read his words directly, but God ain't no spirit. I know our clock up there is an hour slow, but I'm still clocking it. He says, God is a man, and we just cannot make him other than man. lest we make him an inferior one. For man's intelligence has no equal in other than man. His wisdom is infinite, capable of accomplishing anything that his brain can conceive. A spirit is subjected to us and not we to the spirit. Spirit is energy. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. Spirit lasts forever. But spirit cannot manifest itself unless it has matter to be manifested in. You can't see spirit. I had a brother in prison. He'd been locked up too long and he'd been studying too many different things. I'm going to say that before I get ready to talk about it. And I'm going to tell him when I get back to the prison I was talking about. He's going to try to tell me that the Spirit of God is black. And then want to argue with me of how he knows the Spirit of God is black and you can see God's Spirit. I didn't want to tell him, but you've been in your cell too damn long, brother. And you just going to reject the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And he started talking about the sun rays and the pupil of the eye and how with the pupil of the eye. And he's trying to use all these big words to justify. I said, brother, that's going to work on some of these ignorant brothers who ain't studying. Brother, you can't see spirit. You done got so caught up into nationalistic stuff, being a nationalist, the black man, the black man, the black man, and you want to say the spirit is black. That God, in his self-creation, when he created himself, his spirit was black. I said, brother, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that God was that atom in the atmosphere that the spark of electricity caused to start in motion. And as that atom started moving about, it was making itself up in the darkness, but the God had to wait till brains formulated so he can think himself into existence. You want to put a color on his thought? Damn. Excuse me. So as the brother is saying that, I'm thinking about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's words, and I'm saying this to you, brothers and sisters. Energy, it don't have no color on it. But the energy that makes up that spirit comes by what? What gives you and I the energy to want to play basketball? What gives you and I the energy to want to go on a handball court? Remember that? A lot of people don't do that anymore. You know, what gave us the energy to do certain things? It's based off of a certain knowledge. Knowledge, information that was put in our ear, that hit our brain and attracted us to the point where we stood up on that knowledge and we started moving on another level. Is that right? Now, if someone comes with a knowledge that's higher than that and puts down your knowledge, it may knock you off of that hill that you was on of the knowledge you was traveling on. But all of it is energy that makes up the spirit that moves us a certain way. The less amount of knowledge we have, the less movement we're going to, the different grade of movement we're going to make, or different degree of movement we're going to make. So when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is making this statement, when you look up the word subject, he said the spirit is subjected to us and not we to the spirit. There's a lot of definitions for subject, but the number one definition is subject is to be under the power and authority of another. If a man is constantly drinking all the time, he's alcoholic. Every time you see him, he's looking like a bobblehead. And you wondering why every time he, his eyes look yellow, partially red, and he smells like liquor. He got some wisdom, but he's like. But he's under another spirit. Is that right? It's subjected to him. He's not subjected to it. But if he keeps cracking that bottle and drinking it, he's subjected to it. He's under that power. Y'all get it? So God is not a spirit. God has spirit. God is the author of spirit. Satan kills spirit. Satan kills your and my spirit to want to do better. That energy. Even if you're trying to do wrong and it's based off of an idea that came into your mind, there's a Satan that wants to take over that idea. Y'all all right?
Yes, sir.
The kindergarten is a garden in which our children are in that satanic forces sticks pins in the brain of that baby. The public school system, brothers, it's a killing field. We have to be filtering our children when they come home from school until we can put them in under better tutelage, which we would be better off either homeschooling or bringing them right into Muhammad University of Islam, because if we're not, look, all praises due to Allah. If we're not filtering our children's minds to find out how their day went in school, how was their classes, what different subject matters, how things were, just dialogue. But we're dealing with the dialogue because we're probing them to find out if somebody stuck a pin in my baby's brain. From the teacher on down to the next student. Damn it, I want to know. And I'm not going to get all irate about it, but I know we're under Satan's civilization. So everybody gets checked. That's what check post represents, coming in the door. That you're getting a physical check, but when you get in your seat and hear from this rostrum, there's a spiritual check. Check your neck. Wu-Tang Clan. We come to check your neck. Because it's from the neck up. To challenge the foundation of your thought. What's governing your thinking? And Jesus comes to uproot the government of your mind. See, this is why Mr. Farrakhan is so deep. Because he's uprooting the government of the mentality of people that have been under Satan's rule. He comes to destroy Satan. He comes to destroy his rule.